What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Certified BS. And it's your girl, Bria Simmons. I am here today with a very special guest I'm excited to bring in. But before we do, we're going to start. I'm going to ground you and we're going to ease into the BS that we're going to talk about today. We're going to do a quick box breathing. I've gone over this before. So we're going to do just in through your nose for 4, pause for 4, out through your mouth for 4, and then hold it there for 4. We're going to do that 2 rounds. And then I'm going to introduce our guest. So when you're ready, I'm going to ask you to breathe in through your nose. 2, 3, 4, hold for 4, 2, 3, 4, out for 4, 2, 3, 4, pause for 4, 2, 3, one more time, in for 4, 2, 3, 4, hold for 4, 2, 3, 4, out for 4, 2, 3, 4, hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. We are grounding ourselves before we get into the BS today. So I said I have a special guest. I'm really excited to introduce him. He's someone not only special for this podcast because he's the first guest, but he's someone special to me. His name is Kefim Simmons. He also goes by KS. The KS to my BS, the reason that I actually became BS because I was previously BT, everyone. So I call him K. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be the first guest.
I'm excited to have you.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you weren't getting the initial change, this is my husband, but we're not really going to talk about that. We will have some friendly banter today, but what we actually are talking about today is the truth and BS about money and mental health. So obviously, you know, I have brought in a lot of the mental health portion of this podcast, and we've done some foundational work in the field of mental health, and it's where I really thrive. And I will say when Kay and I met, we really filled in each other's gaps. And I
jumped into yours.
Yeah. So he really filled in my money gaps and my financial gaps, and where I had a lot of trouble, not only, really having no idea what was going on financially for me, like truthfully winging it. Knowledge gaps. Yeah. I guess that's important to clarify.
Yeah, I didn't put your name on my bank account.
Yeah. Not at all. Yeah. Not until we merged.
Yeah.
But what you did do was you helped me get really financially knowledgeable and educated. Before we really jump in, I think it's important for me to say when we started dating, which is about 5 years ago at this point, I remember thinking to myself, well, if this doesn't work out, I wonder if he'll still want to be like my business partner or like help me out financially, or if like he could, if we could maintain a friendship if this doesn't work out, because like he knows his stuff. So I feel really honored to have partnered with him, not only in business, but in life. And he's going to drop some knowledge. Why don't you introduce yourself? Because I know it's been some time and I know I probably should know this, but when I try to explain to people what Kay does, it falls really flat. So why don't you tell people what you do, why you're knowledgeable in the financial space, and why I'm bringing you on to really to this podcast episode.
Yeah. So, I mean, Kefim Simmons, a lot of people call me K or KS. I prefer KS. And
oh boy, I've been calling you K for 5 years.
I mean, for acquaintances, okay. Right? Like, friends and family call me K, but I mean, I'll start off by saying that I am not a certified financial planner.
That's important.
So it's very important. I am a finance professional. I do work in finance. I have a degree in finance and management. And I own and operate 2480 Management, which is a talent house for creatives. I also am co-owner of MC Apparel, and we do custom sneakers and events for, we went on tour with TikTok last year. We've done, custom sneakers for Snoop Dogg, DJ Khaled, Lil Baby, Gunna, like your Tiesto, you name the superstars, we've done it. But with that said, to answer your question, with those businesses being, I have a business with my brothers, Brookshire Holdings, 2480 Management. I mentioned MC Apparel. There's a financial aspect to all of those, right? And I am the person that handles the books. So I do the accounting, I manage the money, I do the fundraising, and I lost my father at a young age. And, at the age of 16, going on 17 a few days later, I was forced to step up and be the man in the house as the oldest son. So, I really had to learn the power of the dollar, how to manage it, the dangers around it. And because of that, when I'm working with any one of my clients, or, if I'm, working, on any type of financial project or whatever the case may be, I always try to instill in the people that are working with me, any knowledge that I know. I want them to walk away smarter, after working with me than when they first came. And I want to be smarter too. Like, I learned things from people. I've learned things from you, in the mental health field. Let's just say that I was not a true believer in therapy when we met.
Filling in each other's gaps.
Yeah, exactly. But I think financial knowledge is very important, especially from a mental health standpoint.
Yeah. I so much we can jump into, but is there something, or what do you think the connection is between money and mental health? Like, what's the through line that you would say, or at least maybe for you, and we can broaden that to understand what it could be for other people?
Money is emotion, right?
Ooh.
Your last episode that I was listening to, you were talking about emotion. I believe it was your last one. You're diving into emotion, but money is emotion. Mm. And people view money in a way that makes them feel better, can make them feel powerful. But at the end of the day, money is an emotional thing. So you can have somebody who purchases something, based off of emotion, and then another person is like, hey, that was a bad investment. But you can't necessarily tell that person it's a bad investment because you don't have the same point of view. You don't have the same life experiences, right? Mm-hmm. So, if I grew up walking, 20 miles to work, or my grandmother told me stories of walking to work, or my mom, walking from this city to that city by foot, I'm going to have more value on getting a car probably than, somebody else who grew up with a car. Mm-hmm. And that person, from a technical standpoint, will say, hey, that doesn't make sense. Looking at a spreadsheet, I'm not a technical person, but I use spreadsheets to manage things. But they would say, hey, looking at your financial situation, that doesn't make sense. But from an emotional standpoint, to the other person, it's a great purchase. It's a goal achieved.
That's so interesting to think about money as emotion, but the way that you wove it into our experience and our stories, and how we make financial decisions based on the past experience that we have, it really connects the two and brings a totally different perspective than what I know I used to think about money as, which was one, it was scary. 2, it felt unattainable. 3, it felt like it didn't belong to me. So
it doesn't belong to you.
It doesn't belong to me. Okay, tell me more. Can I get it to belong to me? Like, no. How do we orient to money? Because I've heard some people say like money is a tool, and then I've heard other people say money is the goal.
I think that's the worst thing, the worst mindset to have, that money is the goal, right?
Yeah.
The goal is wealth. Mm-hmm. There's the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich means you have a current high income.
Okay.
Right? Being wealthy means that you can do what you want with your time.
Ooh. These mics are floating, but head, right? I can't drop it.
Being wealthy means you can do what you want with your time. People will tie themselves to a goal, and I think it's a false goal, of hitting or earning money. Mm-hmm. That's fine. It's fine to have a goal to earn money. Like, I had a goal, like I wanted to hit 6 figures, like when I was in my late 20s, mm-hmm. Hit that goal. I wanted to go higher. But you see what the problem is? You have moving goalposts. And mm-hmm. when you have moving goalposts, you don't really have a goal. So you're forever chasing a dollar. But what you should be chasing is wealth. And wealth is what you can do with your free time.
Is there a difference between financial wealth and mental wealth?
I think they go hand in hand. Money can make or break you mentally.
Oof, yeah.
And wealth is a broad thing, right? Wealth, it can be mental, it can be financial, but wealth is a very, very broad thing. But what people may be wondering is like, okay, like you're talking about you should earn wealth or get wealthy versus getting rich. Like, what are you talking about, right? So let me try to explain. So what I mean is wealth is the result of you setting goals and accomplishing those goals without moving the goalposts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, they want to chase stacks, like they want to, stack and trap, stack and track, stack and trap. That's a vicious cycle. You get caught up in that cycle, you're a slave to the money, right? Whereas if you have a goal of, I want to hit X, therefore I can do X, and that is my happiness, right? Like I want to hit $1 million. I want to take that $1 million and start some type of foundation or whatever the case may be, right? Because you can't take the money with you when you're out of here. People say that all the time.
That's really true.
You leave it here, and where does it go? It gets spent. It evaporates. It goes away. When money's passed down from generation to generation, I forget the exact statistic, but by the time it hits the second generation, it's basically gone. Whereas with wealth, that's your legacy. Your legacy can live on forever and ever and ever. And your legacy is what impacts mankind. And that, I think, is the ultimate goal. And that's mental wealth, right? You see these billionaires, let's look at Bill Gates. Bill Gates, Melinda Gates, they're giving away their entire fortune. Yeah. Because they were able to separate themselves from the dollar. They know that the true goal is being able to have an impact, to make an impact on mankind, on society. And that to them gave them a sense of worth.
Yeah. So, this really brings in the big, bold BS question. Can money buy happiness? I think I'm hearing you say no, but what I also think I'm hearing you say is it's not money that buys you happiness, but are there such things as like financial freedoms that get us to that wealth, that mental and financial wealth?
Can money buy happiness? Money can rent happiness.
Oh, ooh. Say more.
In my opinion, money doesn't really buy you anything.
Yeah.
It's money you can rent happiness with money, because a lot of times people use money to fill a void. Yeah. What is luxury? That's the question. Like, what do you think luxury is?
I would say
what are you buying when you buy luxury?
The first thing that comes to my mind is like designer items.
When you break it all down, luxury is you filling a void. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. We can talk about that in the mental health capacity for sure.
So luxury is you spending money to fill some type of void that you may have, some type of deficiency, something that can make you, happy for the time being. But that's not what I want to do, right? Yeah. Like the people, my friends who are very wealthy, you can't tell. You literally, you can't tell, and I have friends who are very wealthy where you can tell that they're wealthy, and there's nothing wrong with that, but their psychology, their mind is completely different. They're not a slave to the dollar. Like they still understand the importance of budgeting, of wealth management. They still understand the importance. They like to be flashy. Some people might look at me and they'd be like, oh, well, you've got, your diamond earrings, your gold, whatever the case may be. Yeah, but I'm not, busting down a watch or doing this and that. the jewelry that I'm buying, for example, is stuff that grows in value. And then if I need to liquidate it, I can liquidate it.
I was going to say that from my portfolio knowledge that gold is an asset.
Yeah, you traditionally only see me wearing gold. Like everything, like is gold and stuff that can be that maintains its value or appreciates in value, over time.
Yeah. So, is there a point to which people can reach where they would be considered financially free? Do you believe that to be a possibility?
Yes.
Okay.
But you got to do the work, right?
Okay.
A lot of, money is emotions, which is tied to anxiety. A lot of people have anxiety because they do not manage their money.
Yeah.
If you, like I say it to you all the time, I was like, I don't know how people just wake up and they don't look at their bank account, or even on a weekly basis. Like, you don't look at what you spent, you don't look at what came in, and you're just spending, and you're like, racking it up on credit. I can't do that. I get too much anxiety. Like,
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's really important to point out here that there can be anxiety on both sides. And this is really where it's like inextricably connected, that for you, there's anxiety if you don't know exactly how many dollars are going in and out of your bank account. But for some people, I would say even more so the majority of people, there's anxiety knowing that what's going in and out of their bank account. And likely certainly there's something in there that's about like poor money management, but there is this out of sight, out of mind mentality that people feel like they have control over it by not looking at it at all. Now, we could dive into this forever, but I want to hear your side of it. Like, for you, knowing every dollar is really, really important.
There's anxiety. So you said, some people have anxiety by when they are looking at their bank account and knowing what's going in and out of it. That anxiety is driven by the desire to want or obtain something that is probably out of reach for you at the moment. And this is, that's why it's important to make a plan, right? Like, you have to, if I have a big event, hey, let's use our wedding, for example, right? I'm not going to throw the exact figure out there, but that was a 6-figure cost.
Yeah.
And that was a 6-figure cost, not because you and I wanted to be flashy, but because, one, we have a large family. 2, we wanted everybody to have the best experience of their life. 3, we did it in damn New York, New Jersey area, which is just a 20% premium on its own.
On anything.
Right?
Just say the word wedding and they'll say extra 20%.
So I remember when we first started, talking about it, and you were like, oh, I like this venue. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And then, I did the numbers and it was that 6-figure number. And you were kind of like, I was like, it's fine. And the reason it's going to be fine is because I had already sat down and made a plan, right? And when you make a plan, you have to be disciplined and stick to that plan. Yeah. So it's all about discipline. So for people who are seeing the money going in and out of their bank account and they're still having anxiety, they're having friction with their discipline, right? And you have to, it takes like a true warrior, like type person, someone who's very disciplined, to be like, I will get that later. Yeah. Or I'll be able to get that later if I do this. And then your anxiety will subside. So making a financial plan can possibly get us to wherever we want to go financially, but we have to figure out the tools in order to be able to stick to it and actually understand what's like coming in and out of our bank account. Yeah, but you said getting you to where you want to go financially. That's a sub goal. What is your overall goal? Yeah. Your goal can't be founded in money. Yeah. If you have a goal of making $200,000, why? Yeah. Why? For what? Okay. Do you want a house out on Long Island? Do you want to do this and that? Like, if that's your real goal, then say that's your real goal and write it down. But if you have a goal of making $200,000, guess what? When you get there, it's not going to be enough. Which I think points to the endless cycle that people can find themselves in with money. When they are only chasing the money, they will always be chasing the money. Yeah, you get stuck. You're also pointing to the emotional value beyond the dollar, right? Like, if the goal is 200,000 for a home,
the home is to provide a safe space for your family and to start to have something that you can build
part
on.
Of that legacy, right?
Part of that legacy, yeah.
It's part of that legacy.
Which there's certainly an emotional attachment to that.
Yeah.
So your point is that there actually has to be something emotional beyond an emotional attachment to money, which we would argue I'm hearing is like a poor money mentality. Like if your emotions are attached to your money and you're only working to get to a dollar amount, then there's going to be it's like a dysfunctional relationship with money.
Right. Because you're not working towards happiness. What you have to sit down and figure out like what is going to make me happy.
Yeah.
Right. I have friends who, they don't make six figures. Some of them are off the grid and they are the happiest people alive because they figured out what they want in life.
Mm-hmm.
And what they want in life, it doesn't require $1 trillion to get. A lot of people just want peace. They want peace of mind without having to, worry about their bills. They want the basic, bare necessities, and they're good. And they just want to enjoy this visit that we have on this planet,
Is there a general formula for peace of mind? Meaning, like, would that be being able to have like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years of backed up security cash to sit on? Would that give someone peace of mind? Like, is there a formula for like attaining peace of mind, or is that an individual thing?
There's not a specific formula, but there's things you can do. One is, like I said, discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be disciplined about looking at your budget. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you do it once a month. Yeah. At least do it on some sort of cadence on a monthly basis, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly. You have to understand your financial situation.
Okay.
2, you are your boss, right? Your income is what your client, your employer, or whoever else is paying you. They're paying you.
Yeah.
But what are you paying yourself? What you pay yourself is your savings.
Yeah.
And you have to pay yourself first before you do anything else. And you have to pay yourself on the same schedule that you're getting paid, or more frequently. And a lot of people don't pay themselves. So what happens if you don't pay yourself, you get stuck in this loop. You get these golden handcuffs where you have to keep working no matter how much money you have. Like I know people that make 7 figures, but they have to keep working because they elevated their lifestyle along with their income. Right? So it's discipline, paying yourself, and patience.
Yeah.
Patience is what happens to people like Warren Buffett.
Oh, yeah.
It's the power of compounding, right? You put your money in your investment and you let it ride. If it's a good investment, you let it ride.
Yeah.
And you just be patient and you keep adding to it and you keep adding to it and you keep adding to it. Like, I'm not going to get into math here, but exponents, right? That grows exponentially. Your money goes to work for you. That's why $1 is a tool.
That's something that I've heard a lot recently, that you don't want to work for your money. You want your money to work for you. And that's kind of what I'm hearing you say in paying yourself, like putting that money aside into some type of savings or like high yield savings, which I think from what I've learned is
at a minimum high yield savings.
Right. At a minimum, right? Like that's
and if anyone needs a discount code or some type of high yield savings recommendation, just let me know. I got you.
There you go. Plug yourself right there. We'll get the extra like point.
I'll get them extra basis points.
Basis points. Yeah. We're making money on this podcast right here. I like that. Yeah. Okay. So Paying
Just DM
yourself.
me at KS_2480. KS_2480.
Okay, so paying yourself, patience.
Yeah.
And there's also what was the third one you said? I'm sorry. Patience, paying yourself, and budgeting.
Discipline.
Budgeting, discipline.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of that is making sure that you don't have more going out than you do coming in. Is that an accurate mindset to have? Or is that dicey?
I mean, yeah. So some people might be wondering, like, how can you have more going out than you have coming in? That's when credit comes into play.
Yeah, right.
That's when credit comes into play. And credit is a very good thing, but it's also a very dangerous thing. It's a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
And credit is essential in this American economy.
Yeah.
It is a great tool. It gets you, you need a credit score to get certain things. It opens doors for you. But if you're not smart with your credit, it can really harm you. It can shut you out of a lot of places, and shut you out of a lot of things. And people find themselves in these really crazy debt traps, and they just look at it and they get overwhelmed, and then they just shut down and they just don't do anything. Right?
There's a connection, right, to mental health. Literally,
you just shut down. You shut down, and it's a vicious cycle because it just keeps compounding. You know, the same way your savings compounds, this debt is going to compound. Like that interest is going to keep compounding. It's going to keep growing. So that goes back to, what you just said about discipline and budgeting. Is like, even if you are in a hole, you make a plan to tackle it. You make a plan and you tackle it with what you have.
Yeah.
If you're throwing, hitting that minimum payment monthly, I never suggest you do the minimum, but at least you pay it. If you need to bring in some debt negotiations, if you need some financial ninja accounting where you do some balance transfers, from a high yield card to a low yielding card in order to save on your interest penalty. There's a bunch of things that can be done. In this day and age, you got ChatGPT, right? You just type it in and you say, hey, like I got this, I'm in a financial bind right now. Like, Here's I have X, I'm working with Y. This suggests a solution for me.
Knowing the numbers is key. And I can certainly back that from the mental health side, because not knowing the numbers is likely, we were talking about the anxiety it can lead to and depression, but it will likely lead to this catastrophizing, which is like thinking of the worst case scenario. I've spoke on this before. And if you're catastrophizing about what the worst case scenarios are, it's likely because you don't actually understand what the numbers are or what's actually there. But if you get clear on the numbers that you have, even if it's debt and even if it's a lot of debt, if you're clear on what those numbers are, then you can be clear on what the actual worst possible outcomes will be without having to put yourself in this anxious state of imagining what they could be. You can get really clear. And if you can get really clear on what is actually possible of happening, you can also work towards preventing that from happening and also reducing your anxiety around it.
Yeah. People fear what they don't understand, hate what they can't conquer. Guess it's just the theory of man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the more you look at your financial situation, the more comfortable you become with it, the more you feel like you can conquer it.
Yeah. Well, I'd say that's why people are afraid of money, because it doesn't feel conquerable. And this goes to a mindset piece that I want to talk about a little bit with you, because there can be this mindset around money. Well, actually, before I even ask, more money, more problems. Like, is that true? Right? Is that the mindset? Is that?
That's true when you have lifestyle inflation.
Okay.
So lifestyle inflation is, and you see it a lot of time, unfortunately, like, I work in the music industry. You see it a lot of time with entertainers. They get their first, paycheck. And they don't realize, like, you get that paycheck, you got legal fees. Your lawyer's getting 5%.
Yeah.
Your manager's getting 20%. You got to pay marketing, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, you're probably left with less than 50% of that money on the high end, right? Yet there's still this like emotional like connection that says, hey, I got $1 million, signing bonus. I'm going to go and I'm going to get my team like chains. I'm going to get my mom a house and I'm going to do that. And that's too soon, because like I said earlier, that's your income. That's your current situation. That's your current dollar income, and it will not stay the same. On average, the earning period for music artists is about 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. And you're expected to live over 70.
Yeah.
Right? So lifestyle inflation is that desire to increase or quote unquote enhance your living standards to match the income that you're making.
Yeah.
The real trick, the real Jedi Knight is to keep your living situation. You can improve it. I'm not saying don't do anything, but to keep that at a level that's well below the income that you're making. Right? So let's look at an apartment. You hit $1 million, you don't go get a $10,000 a month apartment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just not something I would ever recommend for any of my clients to do or anyone to do. I'd say you stay your ass in that same apartment, right? Yeah. Until you've consistently hit $1 million over a period of certain time, mm-hmm. right? Like you need proof that this is something that can be recurring and it's almost become an annuity. Until then, you put that money in an investment and you let it grow for you.
So what would you say if you could put a mindset around money into play, what would that mindset be for people? Let's say people who are just starting to sink their heels into financial understanding.
Understand that it is truly a tool. Mm-hmm. It is not medicine.
Oh, that was good. That makes sense.
Thank you. I just thought of that.
That was right off the top.
No, but it is truly a tool. And what I mean by that is when something's a tool, I'm not going to have an emotional attachment to it. I don't have an emotional attachment to my screwdriver or my wrench. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah, that's really true.
But I could have an emotional attachment to the couch or the high chair I'm building for my child. You know what I mean?
To the goal beyond
the goal,
the number.
To the end thing, right?
Yeah.
So I tell people that realize money is a tool. You got to separate the emotions from it. And that's hard to do, but you want to get technical with it, mm-hmm. right? Like you don't want to emotional buy. It's okay to emotional buy. Like, people, sometimes you're going through something like, hey, I'm going to go buy like a triple cheeseburger from McDonald's or something, whatever the case may be. Whatever. Well, how much is that these days? $17 for a triple
expensive.
Cheeseburger? Yeah. But you want to have that discipline where you can separate your emotions. And by separating your emotions, mm-hmm. guess what else that ties into? That ties into what other people think about you.
Say more.
So a lot of times people, they spend or overextend in order to impress others.
It's really fair. Yep.
Or they spend or overextend in order to get 100 likes on an Instagram post that people are going to forget about in 15 seconds. Like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to get this outfit, I got my Balmain, whatever the case may be. Like, I got all this stuff on. I spent all this money be out for 2 hours. They post my pictures, and they're going to be old news probably 15 seconds after I hit the button. Right?
Yeah.
So if you're able to separate, that influence, that desire to try to impress others, mm-hmm. and people who have the desire to try to impress others have some type of void someplace else.
Yeah.
So you gotta maybe they gotta come talk to you, but they gotta figure out where that void is.
It sounds like they're seeking some external validation, which can be okay in moderation, but it can't be as much as the validation that we need to be able to give ourselves.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I'm gonna switch gears because I have so many more questions and I don't know if I'll get to them all, but I want to know if there's anything that the financial gurus are saying that you say is totally incorrect or that you think is totally wrong, or it's thinking about money and mindset in an inappropriate way.
Honestly, I listen to people I respect and have a proven track record.
Yeah.
So, first of all, if someone says something, you want to do your own research on it, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want, if someone's out there being like, go buy Dogecoin or go buy the new Melania Trump coin or whatever the case may be. Look at that person's resume.
Yeah.
Like, are they saying it for themselves? Are they promoting? Are they getting paid to say it? Whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
But, I listen to the people who have proven time and time and time and time again that they just want to bestow their knowledge. They want to spread financial education. They want people to understand. And that's people like Jay-Z, right? Warren Buffett. There's people out there who really truly have a goal of uplifting their community, but they're not gonna do it directly. They're not gonna go and give everyone in their family $500, because if you do that, and I've learned this myself the hard way, if you just give somebody money without teaching them how to use it, that's probably the worst thing that you can do. That's the worst thing and probably the most dangerous thing you can do.
Because they'll just keep taking or expecting.
Yeah. You remember that viral question is like, would you take the money or have dinner with Jay-Z? Remember that?
I do.
That was going around?
Yeah, I think I do.
I'd take the dinner.
Because you can learn a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, if I was someone who was not up to par in the financial knowledge realm, then 100%.
Yeah.
I'm taking the dinner.
Yeah.
But if it's someone like like an Elon or Warren Buffett, they're probably going to take the money. You know what I mean?
So if you've already reached the financial peak, it's okay to take the money, but otherwise,
like if you have a solid foundation, it's okay. So that was a loaded question, but I think it's very, 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 very important to do your research on what people are saying.
Yeah. Yeah. In the age of social media where there's so much information and everyone packages their information as we're here to help you, it's really challenging to sift through what's legit and what's not, because something that I notice is there are so many salesy pitches trying to sell everyone the quick fix to getting 6 figures a month. Like that, I see that all over the internet. I see that all over TikTok and Instagram. And it's frustrating because everything that I believe I've learned from you and the financial people who I trust, who you've kind of helped me find to be able to trust, there is no hard and fast solution. Like there is no quick fix to just getting the $100,000 a month. But like that's what it feels like everyone is saying. And so that's kind of where the question stemming from is like, how do you even sift through that? And like, is that true? Is that possible? Are these people legit?
I mean, to me, number one, if someone is trying to sell you something, going back to what I just said, there's ulterior motives there. Mm-hmm. Do they really have your best interest in mind?
Of course not. They're trying to make their own money.
Yeah, exactly. Number two, wouldn't everybody be doing it? Wouldn't everybody be rich?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it feels like we're stuck in this like really big Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. Number three, there are no get rich quick schemes. Mm-hmm. There's luck. And luck does exist, but in order for you to acknowledge that luck exists, you have to acknowledge that there's risks involved as well. So if you understand that there's luck and risk, then go for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That seems like some like stock portfolio advice as well, right? Like there's luck involved, there's risk involved. There's also effort involved and intelligence involved.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a mix of all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not just, it goes beyond stock portfolios. It's going to, careers, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking about gambling on doing something else, because, your idol does this, or it's just always been your passion, you have to understand that the people who have gotten to where you want to be, there is an element of luck.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same point in time, you have to acknowledge the risk in doing that.
I'm taking a guess here, but it seems like people are like on either side of the spectrum, where they're like really, really willing to take the risk, or they want nothing to do with risk at all.
Yeah.
And I would
risk averse.
Risk averse. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think it pairs back into like this mentality, right? And the mental health as well, because risk is risky. And if we're risking something financially, I can imagine people fear that also being a mental health risk, which is something that like, I know people struggle with, like staying in their 9-to-5 their whole lives. It's not risky at all, but it's getting the job done to support their family. And for some people, that is like it's a really like stable place to be, financially stable enough and mentally stable enough. I don't even have a question here. I'm just kind of.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a 9-to-5.
Yeah. There's
absolutely nothing wrong with a 9-to-5.
I very much agree.
If it's a means to an end to you and you're happy and you've got your family and it's giving you the foundation you need, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
There's like this mentality right now, probably because of social media, whatever case, that people working 9-to-5 are peasants or subpar. That's
so not true.
I bet you those peasants are probably a lot happier than you are.
Well, and I think that's what I'm bringing in is there is so much stability in that lifestyle. And I think it's like what sort of life you're trying to pick, or maybe fusing the two, but there's extreme stability and so much less risk in working 9-to-5, knowing what's coming in.
There used to be. The reason I said there used to be is because if you look at like our parents' generation, whatever, you would go to vocational school or college, you would get a job, you would work that job for X amount of decades, you would get your pension, you would have your house, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. In this day and age, you can't just work one job, right? Yeah. Like we're fighting everything. We're fighting COVID, the flu, inflation, deflation, like everything under the sun, scams through the roof, right? Like our life is just so expensive these days.
Yeah.
So, that's why I said like it used to be.
Yeah.
But the biggest fight that we have coming up that is a threat to the 9-to-5s. What do you think it is?
The 5-to-9s? I don't know.
It is the 5-to-9s. And what are those 5-to-9s doing? 5-to-9s are the people who are putting in work, after that, trying to build their own thing.
Yeah.
It's the 5-to-9s, artificial intelligence.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's
artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't start to recreate yourself, you're going to be put out on the street, right? You got to understand some type of AI and how AI is going to impact the work that you do. And, going back to our topic at hand, there's plenty of AI tools. Like you have no excuse anymore to not budget. You can literally have a GPT model build a budget template for you.
What would I prompt it to do or say or ask or whatever you do with ChatGPT?
I would say, I am looking to budget, on a weekly, monthly, whatever basis. Can you help me track my revenue and expenses? For example, just very baseline.
Yep.
Right. There's more advanced things you can do, like Google Sheets, for example, just rolled out an AI component that can do analysis. So you can literally download your bank statement, right? You can upload that bank statement to Google Sheets and you can say, hey, Gemini, analyze this sheet and tell me what's going on. And Gemini might say, yo, you need to slow down. You're spending way too much at Starbucks, right? or you need to cancel that OnlyFans subscription. So you don't even have to sit there and like add up this number or like do this and do that. That's why I say you need to keep reinventing yourself. Like there's new tools and you have no excuse not to understand what's going on in your financial world anymore. Like none. And that goes to you too.
The silent plug to tell me to get on my financial shit. Okay. All right. Well, what I was going to say is using tools and understanding how to use tools like that. Again, here we are bringing it all the way back, reduces stress. And if we have a better handle on our financial picture, then we can very directly reduce our stress, which can increase our quality of life, both financially and in our well-being or mental health.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. All right. If someone were struggling with debt and depression, what do you think they should tackle first?
Mental health. You always get your mind right first, right? Yeah. They do go hand in hand and you should tackle both at the same time, but you tackle them with prioritization. Yeah. Mental health has a higher priority than your financial situation, even though your financial situation might be causing that mental health issue.
It's the chicken and the egg, right?
It's the chicken and egg.
But I totally agree.
But so the mental health, tackling your mental health first will give you the foundation and the confidence and, courage might be the word, but maybe the courage to start looking at your financial situation and to come up with a plan for your financial situation.
Courage is the word.
Yeah.
It does. It seriously takes some people courage to actually look at what's taking place, because oftentimes people know that they've got themselves into some deep hole that they're really afraid to look down.
Yeah.
So courage is certainly the word there.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. All right. Let's wrap here. I want you to kind of leave us with any famous last words here. Again, we're talking the truth and the BS of money and mental health. I think we have really strung the through line from start to finish, but anything that you want to leave listeners with before we wrap?
Money sucks. Money is
and done. No.
Money is not your friend. Money is not your enemy.
Oh.
Money is, I've said it 3 times already. It's for the 4th time. Money is a tool.
Yeah.
Use that tool to help you accomplish your mission. But what is your mission? That is where the real work is. Like, what is your mission? Like, what do you want to do? What is your lasting impact?
Yeah. It's so crazy because as you're saying that, I'm really thinking like when you can visualize what your mission is or what your goal is, you are actually bringing in the two worlds, right? Because there's a goal to reach something that is going to bring you the happiness and security and stability that you're looking for. And then there might be a number attached to that, but again, it's not the emotional goal that you're reaching, but we can see how the two of them sort of build this, this pathway to get there. Is that landing?
Spot on.
Yeah. Okay. I like taking a non-judgmental stance to money too. I will put in my last words here that, we are so, when I say we, I really am including me. We are so quick to judge everything in this world, but money is so interesting because it really does come with this, this stress point for so many people, and we can judge it as good or bad. And you said it right away, like it's not good or bad. It's just a tool. So really orienting to money as just being a tool, and that is what it is. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. It's just a thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Well, KS, thank you so much for coming on Certified BS.
Honor to be the very first guest.
I
know you're only going to get bigger and better from here.
I have a goal that I'm working towards. So, episode by episode, hopefully we will see you again here on this couch. Maybe sometime in the future we'll talk a money 2.0 and mental health again. Maybe we'll talk about some other BS, but I appreciate you coming, and thank you all for joining in. I'm Bria Simmons, and this is Certified BS. Thanks for listening.